Hello, everyone, and welcome to ABG, Asian Boss Girl, a podcast for the modern-day Asian American woman. My name is Helen.
I'm Janet.
And it's Mel.
So today's episode is about modern-day dating. This is a topic that we've kind of touched upon in past episodes, but we continuously get a lot of people writing in with various questions and things that they want to discuss with us. We have a lot of private conversations about dating because we're in our 20s and 30s. So we're just going to dedicate an episode to this and kind of covering some questions that people had submitted in. Let's just get started then. The topic of dating, first of all, how do you meet someone? In today's world of mobile apps, that's become a very common way that people meet people, right?
All right, so Jen and I are the both single ones. We obviously use dating apps to meet people. But on the dating apps, a main way for us to kind of gauge if we're interested is communication through text, right? Mm-hmm. So is there a certain style you like a guy to text to make you feel like, oh, I'm interested? Or there's something that he says that you're like, no, I'm not interested?
I generally just like having someone talk to me, period, because that's no, but in all seriousness, I feel like the longer that apps are around and the more saturated they become, it's really hard to get a guy to just engage in conversation. And usually now, because like I would rather someone else start, like I might for Bumble where you have to reach out, but generally like if the guy sends me a message nowadays, it's like hi, or like, you know, very kind of basic, like how was your day, which is I'm totally guilty of that too. When I have to start a conversation, sometimes I'm just very like kind of bland about it. But even the ones where they kind of make more of an effort, I feel like the conversations just kind of like die.
So what is an example of someone who's made a good effort or said more than hi and you were interested in what they were saying for their greeting?
Actually, now that you asked me that question, I realize the struggle that I have is that the ones I'm interested in only say hi, and then the ones that have more conversation, I'm not really interested in. Not because of the conversation, but it's like we connected and I was like, kind of. And then it just wasn't enough to...
So you went on a date recently. How did he start off that conversation?
Was he also a hi guy?
Do I need to look?
A hi guy? Was he high?
Oh, he unconnected with me already.
You had the hi and then you had the bye.
Yeah. I can remember why I met up with him though.
Let's be real. Maybe you were attracted to him enough to be like, all right, I'm down to meet you in person.
Yes.
So was it more that you were attracted to his photos and...
Yeah, I thought he was physically attractive, and then also his background, like he had written that he was like an editor for CBS, like documentary type stuff, so I thought that was pretty fascinating. He seemed cultured, and we actually didn't have very much conversation, but it just, I think those things for me checked the boxes, and he didn't do anything to fuck up the conversation.
Okay. So it's more like you have to be physically attracted, and he has to seem interesting on paper.
Yeah.
So as long as he doesn't say anything that is like so extra that makes you not like him, then you're going to give him a chance.
Yes.
Most likely.
And actually now my memory is jogging. I do remember we had a really hard time scheduling a meetup because he was like working on a project that was really unpredictable. But he was very like communicative during that process. And I could tell that like the way he was responsive, like he cared enough he respected my time and he wanted to meet up. So I was like, okay.
Now that we're talking about this, in my head I'm envisioning that this is like in dating, I feel like your partner, the person you're interested in, has kind of hit different types of thresholds. Right? Like physically he has hit a certain threshold, communication wise he has hit a certain threshold, like on paper he has hit a certain threshold, right? But like if the levels of those thresholds vary, the one has to be higher than the other. Like for example, let's say one guy I find super, super attractive, but he's just really bad at communicating. Like my attraction in general just goes down. But if he's if I'm like okay with him and like he's like I'm not super attracted to him, but I find him okay, like decent, and he's such a smooth talker and like we just click really well, I'm more inclined to meet up. Yes. But then I think what I'm recognizing now when I'm on the dating apps or when I was on it is like I feel like I tell myself to be more open, and so I'm like I swipe yes, and then so I'm like I'm not super, super attracted to the guy right away. I had this guy I was talking to, I thought he was like kind of attractive, but I wasn't super, super into him. On paper he was okay, and then the way he would communicate with me, it's like every day he'd be like, happy Wednesday, happy Monday. Just like,
you're like, no shit, it's a Wednesday. No shit, it's a Monday.
But it's like I get it because he's like being really nice, but in my head I was like, I personally like witty banter and someone fun. And I'm the girl that when I match up with the guy, I literally asked him, I was like, what are 3 things you always have in your grocery basket? Because it's just like, I'm tired of the simple highs. I mean, it's nice sometimes, but
you want to go past the politeness and you want to get to know
exactly.
them.
And I think the simple highs work if you meet someone in person and then the text message follows that. Versus I think on the dating app, we put so much pressure on everything has to be like spark right away or else it's like everything falls flat.
But then I wonder also for certain people, like they have certain phrases that they say to everyone. So do you want to be fed these like phrases that they just copy and paste to everyone else.
I mean, I don't mind. Okay, if it's a phrase like, oh, like, hey baby, blah blah blah, then I'm like, ill. But then this reminds me of an episode of Master of None when Aziz Ansari's character is on the dating apps and he literally copied and pasted, hey, I'm going to Whole Foods. Want me to pick something up for you? I thought that was really funny, you know? So if something like that, I mean, I don't mind because then it's like, it depends on the girl's response back. If she's good and plays along, then maybe you guys have a connection.
Yeah.
If
That's
she's
true.
Just like,
that's true. And then how he follows up with that.
Exactly.
You know, that's going to be a good indication of whether or not you're attracted to him too.
So when someone asks a question that feels very creative like that, then I also feel like I'm being tested, which I understand where that's coming from.
Ooh,
but then it makes you kind of more aware of your answer and the way that you answer. And then for the guys, then if you know that girl can catch that, she could also be constructing the answer she thinks you want to hear versus answering honestly.
That's true.
Oh,
So
God.
Oh, fuck. Like, what happened to the simple hello? That doesn't work anymore?
Maybe I prefer just a simple hi now.
I feel bad because it makes me feel like, damn, like I'm expecting other things now.
But okay, so give an example of one that has failed for you recently, Mel, because you met someone during Halloween, right? And then you sent us a screenshot of your conversation, and it went downhill quickly.
All right, so I didn't meet this guy online. So we were at this Halloween party. I meet this guy, and we're just talking. In person, like, he was like kind of funny, kind of nice, but then he kind of lied about his age right away. Yeah.
What did he say?
So they're giving out free soju at this event. And I was like, aren't you a little young to be serving soju? He's like, oh, I'm 24. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, how old are you? I was like, I'm 27. He's like, oh, I'm 29. I'm like, why are you retracting?
How did you
your
suddenly grow 5 years?
No, exactly. So I was like, okay. And then I was like, kind of just poking fun at him. That's what I usually do. I was like, you're lying. Like, you're definitely not 29. He's like, no, I am. And he pulls out his ID. And I was like, fuck, he's 29.
So why did he lie in the first place?
I'm thinking because that event there's like other younger girls who are 24, 22. He wanted to attract them. But I'm like, I don't know.
That's true, because 29 for them might feel too old.
Yeah. Okay.
That was okay, but I remember he was trying to prove that he wasn't just a soju bartender. He's like, I work full time, I'm an engineer, and I was like, oh, okay. And he pulled out his work email to prove that too. I was like, okay, shoot.
Okay.
Does he have practice trying to prove himself?
But also, if you guys know me, I tend to poke fun at people a lot. Just I guess like not test them, but to see if a guy could roll with the punches sometimes.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's why he also did that. Long story short, he ended up getting my number. And so on Monday, he texted me, was like, what's your name again? No lie. I kind of forgot his name too. And I don't mind that you forget, but it's just like, that shouldn't be the first thing you text me.
Or to say it in that way.
Yeah. And I was like,
abrasive.
Yeah. And I was kind of like thrown off by that. And then I was like, what's your name? He's like, you can find out on LinkedIn. I was like, okay, what? Like, you're going to find me on LinkedIn now? Or like, what's going on?
Wait, first off, if you don't even know his first name, like how are you supposed to like
Find him on
LinkedIn? I don't know. He was like, what's your name again? I guess he wants to use my name to find out on LinkedIn.
Also, who uses LinkedIn as their like
mode of
like figuring like getting to know someone, right? Isn't it Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat?
You could just stalk me privately and not even tell me all this stuff. That's what I do. Like, you know what I mean? So I was kind of like, what?
Yeah.
But is that a thing? Is that a common thing for people to ask for their LinkedIn?
No.
That's just asking for your name, isn't it?
I do find that weird. It's like, for me, I think Facebook is kind of more personal, and Instagram is like, that's
too personal.
Kind of, yeah. I don't know, but I just fucking weird. I don't know. But then he just like was really persistent on like, what's your name again? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, I don't feel attracted to this conversation right now.
You're not really winning me over.
Yeah.
No, I know. Like, and I would ask him like, what's your name? Like, just to make sure I know on my end, not calling you some random name. He's like, oh, you know my name. I was like, obviously I don't, because I'm asking you. So I think at that point I was like, you know what? Like, this is what we're dealing with in modern dating.
This sounds like a terrible. And so how did that conversation end?
He kept texting me saying like, you know my name, silly. And I was like, oh God, like I don't know your name.
He might be 24.
Right. And then
or younger.
The guy that I went on a date with also had used LinkedIn as a way to connect with me, which I thought it was me because he was 40. So I'm like, maybe because he's older, that it's like the professional thing. But if a guy in his like 20s is also doing that.
Is this a trend now that we don't know about?
I mean, I definitely don't know about
the
this trend.
The next thing they're gonna ask is like, oh, what's your Venmo? Like, yeah. I don't know.
But I was going to say, like, so for the LinkedIn profile, I do look at people on LinkedIn as well. And because I'd rather be able to see who looks me up, I don't care if they know that I look them up. So I have it open and because it's also like, if I don't feel like it's a shameful thing, it's like I'm educating myself on your background before we get.
Dang, I need to update my LinkedIn.
Yeah, well,
there's like nothing on there.
It's okay. You're safe. You're not single like us. We have to deal with all this like, fucking shit. I guess overall, I'm someone that likes a guy who has witty banter.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think all girls look for that. I'm not saying they have to always witty all the time, but something that attracts me right away.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a really weird conversation. It's like, okay, well, first off, I need to know your name so I can look you up so I can like see what you do and all of this stuff. And if you want to just end the conversation there, then
I just feel like there's other better approaches for like, especially if you meet someone in person, you can be like, hey, like it was great meeting you last night. LOL, do you still think I'm 24? Or some shit like that, right? Damn, I just gave you a fucking
Have you ever had a conversation that went well, like there was that witty banter, and then did it somehow stop or not lead to a meetup?
No.
Oh, okay, so it's either there or it's not.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Well, last time I can remember like a witty banter was maybe my ex-boyfriend or my fuckboy. He was really good at that.
Yeah.
But that ended up that way, you know? So,
So it has to be attractiveness and also good communication.
it's charisma too.
Banter. Charisma.
Ooh, you know, one way I've seen guys who will kind of get around this, and in a positive way, is they'll do a phone call versus continuing text.
I actually
because
love that.
I like that. It's a little bit more like traditional and classic, but also it's like if you know you're not someone who's good at texting back and forth, then and you know you're better at phone calls, then so that's a solution for men. If you're like not into playing this like texting game, then offer to.
Would you
call
ever
the girl.
do like a FaceTime or Google chat with
That's
them?
a good question because I feel like I've had guys who try to push that, and if I don't know them very well yet, I'd rather do phone first.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's also like it goes in steps. Like I think a FaceTime's like whoa versus a phone call. It's like, it's the next gradual step from texting.
Yeah.
Actually, this reminds me. Janet was the one that recommended a phone call when I was on the dating apps, and I actually used it. And the guy was like, "Oh, okay," and that actually helped me go on a next date with him. So I think that step really helped me figure out, like, because you kind of figure out your flow of the conversation versus like texting can be on and off because if you're working.
Because you can also pause for a long period of time before responding back.
Yeah, and then on that phone call, this was like probably 2 years ago, we ended up having like an hour-long conversation. I was like, this is worth a dinner to move forward. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, hour-long conversation on the phone?
Yeah.
That is a date.
Yeah, I was like, so I think it worked out, but the day just, whatever. I'm not dating him right now, so.
Actually, why didn't that?
I think a tip you should have for yourself is when you meet a guy, I know you're nervous and you drink. I think I drink a little more. And so I think I kind of like clouded my actual feelings for the guy. I think I just wanted to have someone. So I'm like, I'm really into him, but we actually really didn't connect.
Okay.
So yeah, it didn't work out.
I've actually, carrying this on over into like when the assessment of like, should this develop into a relationship? I feel like I have gone so far as going on 4 to 5 dates with someone where like it was going well, but then we just mutually ghosted each other. And that's like a phenomenon that I don't know if anyone else is experiencing. Because when I tell people this, they're like, that is so weird. But I've had this happen like 2 or 3 times now. And it was just like, I think because it takes amount of time to like get to know each other.
Yeah.
And if you are both people who are like kind of being polite to each other, I
Right.
guess, that you just keep going and then it's like,
Or do you feel like it's because after a number of dates, you start discovering things about each other that you kind of don't like?
Yes.
And then you start focusing on those little things. And you're like, maybe this person's not the right
I don't know that it's even
one for me.
focusing on it, but I think it just takes time to get to know someone. So within like the first date, you might learn a thing that's like, okay, I can let that go.
Right.
And then the second date, you might learn another thing. And then you're like, oh, wait, I don't know. But I still like them. So let's go out a third time. And then you start, or even you just learn things about each other's lifestyles. Or between those times, I've maybe met their friends or they've met mine. So I think just the more information you gather, you might start to sense like, okay, we're not the most compatible.
Is it just easier for you guys to just like kind of politely ghost each other versus like, hey, I don't think things are working out on my end?
Like, do you prefer that? Would you rather have it just kind of fizzle out, or would you rather have him reach out and say, hey, I think this is over?
So in these mutual ghost situations, it works because we both obviously felt the same, right?
Yeah.
If it was someone I liked and they just pieced out, I would obviously I think I would reach out. And then, here's how I would say, I prefer that the guy just maybe not reach out again. But if one of us reached out, we should offer each other the respect of the explanation. But without any prompt, it meant that we are both okay with it not continuing, right? Because I've also made the mistake of if you jump the gun and you have that conversation, then they might be offended sometimes because they would have rather it had just like floated. Or like vice versa. I could see for me, like I was trying to figure out my feelings and I actually wasn't feeling that strongly. Now that you reject me, that could also make me be like, wait.
Yeah.
Like
I can see that. I feel bad ghosting. Wait, do I ghost?
You just ghosted this other guy.
I know. Okay, I think I said in a previous podcast, I'm not the type to ghost. If we're to go on a date with a guy and like we went past the texting phase and like we had a face-to-face interaction and it was leading towards something, I would make it clear like I don't want anything further. Then I don't ghost. But if it's like initial texting phase where it's like I haven't even met with you or we're not even trying to have a conversation, I think I kind of lightly go. I'm taking a step back. I don't want to talk. But then because right now I'm like, do I even say anything to him? Say like,
no, I just feel like that conversation is done.
Okay. All right, so let's say you already went through those loopholes and those trenches of communication styles with the guy, and you're interested in pursuing something more. How do you deal with yourself and your emotions when you have this new partner in your life?
So that was actually, we had one listener who asked, how do you not jump too quickly to the conclusion that the person that you've met is the one? And then we had someone else write in and ask, or about the topic of when you can't catch feelings but you want to. So that is basically meaning like, how do you allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to be able to feel for someone, but at the same time to not be so vulnerable that you get hurt a lot. And I think that that's actually something that, especially in the modern day dating world, we have a lot of apps and there's like so many people that float in and out. How do you balance that? I personally honestly don't have tips for that. I feel like I definitely went through the phases of being too emotionally involved and then put up a wall pretty quickly. And I would self-admittedly say I'm pretty jaded right now, and I do have a pretty big wall up. And it would, for the most part, like if someone's trying to talk to me, I'm on the defense right now. So sorry, I don't have better tips. That's my reality.
I think for me, the question for when you can't catch feelings but you want to, when I think of that, I feel like you're just not interested then. Because I do think that in college, I met guys who were my friends who I'm like, you're such a good catch and like you're interested in me. And I was like, okay, let's go to dinner. And I would like try to make myself like you. I'm like, please like him. Like he'd be such a good person to date. Just doesn't get there. So I feel like that's just a sign saying that you're not interested in this person in a romantic way. So just like don't waste your time doing this.
Right. So even if they're like perfect on paper and you're like, oh, we should be together, right? But if the feelings aren't there, the feelings aren't there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you can be really good friends and maybe over time that does develop, but maybe it doesn't.
Yeah, that is actually a very good insight. Maybe if you are not catching the feels, you just don't have them for this person.
Right.
Yep.
I'm trying to put myself back too, because I haven't dated in a long time. So basically, when I started really getting into a guy, I try not to text so much. I try to have them text me first to make sure that they're invested so that I am not totally vulnerable to my feelings towards them.
Yeah.
But I try also not to ghost them, so it seems like I am interested. Yeah, I don't really have good.
No, that is true. Actually,
good tips for this.
The communication is the one kind of tool that you have when you guys are getting to know each other, right? And you're trying to figure out how they feel and how you feel. And the frequency of communication and who initiates is mostly, that's the tool that you use, right? So, I mean, but you also have to, I think, have a good amount of like self-control. Because I know a lot of girls that will, the moment you feel something, you know that you should let him text you first, but you're like, I can't help it. I need to.
Right. Like, what are you doing right now? Are you going to say goodnight to me? No.
So how did you kind of, because you probably felt like the desire to, but then how do you stave it off or like?
I think I just try to distract myself by like doing something for myself instead of wanting to hang out with them like 24/7. So that maybe made me seem a little bit more interesting too, because it seemed like I had a life away from him.
Right.
So then he was curious about what I was doing during my day. So then he would text me and say, oh, what are you up to? Instead of me texting him, even though I wanted to text him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
maybe that's a tip.
I think I am someone that once I'm in a relationship, feelings are like instantly, like they waterfall out of me. And you guys know this. Like, I think I had a tendency to be like, this is it. This is the one. Because my walls are so up in the beginning that when it comes crashing down, it literally comes like crashing to pieces, and I'm more vulnerable. But that vulnerability comes with me thinking that this person's the one. And so like, I think even like I'm still figuring out how to like not let
manage
myself
our emotions,
manage it. Like, it's weird because it's just like I won't catch feelings for someone I don't have feelings for, but when I do have feelings, it's just like reining it in. It's difficult for me because it's just like everything just seems so perfect. So I'm still learning, so I don't really know yet.
I feel like the good relationships I've had are the ones that I didn't initiate very much, but it was also because I didn't really like them that much, but it somehow worked really well.
Ooh,
like it was like the love developed kind of
thing.
Or
maybe it's because then you don't have high expectations for them.
That's true.
And for the relationship that you want to have with them, right?
Yeah.
So if you start off with very low expectations and
or
they
just
start
like
to
no
exceed
expectations.
it. Or no expectations at all, then you're like, oh wow, this guy is actually very good, like husband material.
Yeah. Versus, and then there were ones where I feel like it was like hot fire. Like I was so emotional, and I would do the things where I knew, I'm like, objectively, logically, Janet, this is how you drive someone away, but I couldn't help it, and I would do that, and then it wouldn't work. It's been a very long time since I've like felt a lot for someone. Because I feel just dead inside right now.
All right, sounds like we don't have any answers to this question. Let's move on.
All right, so another question we got from a listener was, how do you manage the ambiguous stage of dating?
I guess like having the conversation when if the guy is avoiding it.
Yeah, or
like where define the relationship.
exactly.
DTR.
Yep, what Ross always wants to do in Friends. Okay, personally for me, you guys know this, I'm pretty forward with what I want. So if I see us going somewhere, I'll ask him, are we exclusive? Like, are you dating other people? I don't mind if you do, but if I feel a certain way that I want this to be more, I would ask him, like, I would prefer us to be exclusive. And let me know your thoughts. And then we'll see where we go.
So you start by first putting your cards out. You're saying, this is what I want. And then give them.
Yeah, because I think within a relationship, if you've been dating and you reach a point, it's like I could see us developing into something more. Then at that point, you kind of just suggest, like, I want us to be exclusive. Like, what do you think about that? I think in my previous relationship, he brought it up. And originally I said, hey, like, I know we're still getting to know each other. Like, you're open to date other people. Like, I'm okay with that. Cause like, I mean, I'm not going to do that, but you're welcome to. But then I think we reached a point that he was like, I just want us to be exclusive. I'm like, oh, I'm down for that. So it's mutual. And then through that, we like started dating just each other. And I'm also very traditional in the sense that, like, when there's titles involved, like girlfriend or just dating, I would like it to be asked or talked about before heading to that stage. Like, I told him, like, if we want to be like official, like boyfriend and girlfriend, I prefer for you to ask me. I don't want it just to be like, oh, what are we? Oh, you address me as your girlfriend in front of your friends. But I'd rather have that conversation.
You'd rather not have it just like come out of nowhere where he's like, oh yeah, my girlfriend's coming tomorrow.
Yeah, I know.
Like, hope?
Yeah. Who's your girlfriend? Because I have some girls, like my friends are like, oh yeah, like, I don't know. Like, he just says this. I think, I guess we are. I'm like, no.
You need it like formally.
Yes. Yeah. I want to know what we are.
I feel like this is also maybe more of a concern with like modern day dating because now people are dating more than like one person at a time, even like within a day, right? They'll have like a lunch date and a dinner date and who knows, like what's everything in between. But I feel like for me, when I was starting to date my boyfriend, it felt very, and this is a place where maybe I was being a little bit too vulnerable or naive, but I always thought that he was like exclusive to me and I would never have to question whether or not he was dating other people. But I don't know, maybe that's more like, that was a couple years ago, so
yeah, it was a different time. Yeah, but also it's like you could tell, I think, if you've gone on a few dates with someone, if they're also seeing other people, and this isn't always true because
how could you tell?
I think you get a sense of like if they're active on apps or like just.
Have you ever seen someone still on the app as you were dating them?
I don't know if I've ever been in a situation where I thought they were not dating and
so you always think that there's probably someone else that they're seeing too.
In the beginning. But I think that at the moment that like we've been on a couple of dates, if you're continuing to see me and we have a certain connection, then like I assume that you're not seeing other people. Yeah. But it's actually been it's been a long time since I've reached that point. Like, and I would say that's only on apps too. If it's off app, I assume you're not seeing one for sure.
I think I do too. Like, I assume that it's like mostly just us, but I always like to have that conversation to clarify.
Like when you met were you also dating other people?
No, not at all. I wasn't even looking for a boyfriend. I was just like, cool, I just moved to LA and
dang,
being single.
Wait, I had a question for you, Helen. So when you and your boyfriend started dating, did you need that formal ask to be your girlfriend? Do you remember?
I think that took a little longer in order for that to happen. We were dating on and off, but it was like a recent breakup for him, so it was a little too soon. So I knew that boyfriend-girlfriend asking would take a little longer than I would have expected. Although I knew that like I wanted to be with him and I think he knew he wanted to be with me too. But I let him have his time for however much time he needed in order to before he asked me.
Was it like a romantic gesture or was it just like, oh, like we just a discussion?
Oh God, I should remember, but I don't.
Do you like having a formal ask or do you don't care?
Yeah, no, I think that's still a kind gesture. Like we actually don't have an anniversary because I don't even think he knows when he asked. So yeah, I don't think it was like a big deal when it was asked. I actually honestly can't recall. And I say all the time, like, let's pretend this is our anniversary day. And we just always forget it every year. Yeah. We just try to celebrate every day, you know?
Okay, yeah. That's
a good spin.
Corny, but works. Janet, do you like them to ask you? Or do you rather be like, oh, go with the flow, you know?
You know, I think I would also prefer, I don't know, I don't even really remember with my past.
I feel like knowing you'd want someone to make it very clear, like what things are. You would like to ask.
Yeah.
I think now, actually, given my dating experience and like the way that the dating environment is nowadays, I feel like it needs to be pretty fucking clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Is it weirder when you're a little bit older too? Because it's like,
Oh yeah.
oh, is this like a proposal? But we're just getting to boyfriend girlfriend right now.
You
Okay.
get down on one knee while you be my girlfriend.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually no. That's a good. It shouldn't be an act, right? But it should be a clear conversation and maybe a nice like I'm taking you out to dinner and a formal like personal celebration.
Yeah.
Or personal discussion. I don't know.
Not having all of your friends show up like, woo.
Oh no,
That's
be
fucking
awkward.
no. That's fucking
That would
weird.
be like, wait, we're getting married? I don't even know. What's your name?
That is weird. You guys made fun of me when my ex-boyfriend asked me with flowers. Like, is this a proposal? I was like, hey, just asked me to be his girlfriend.
That'd be sweet.
I mean, that's sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It'd
he
be
showed up like at your work and
Yeah.
knocked on your door window, right? Like scared you.
Scared
or
the fuck out of
surprised
me.
you. That's cute.
How about when do you know when it's time to introduce your person you're dating to friends or family?
This is actually a really good question. So my eyelash lady, we're pretty close. Like every time I'm getting my lashes done, it's like a 1 to 2 hour session, and it's a time for us to catch up like once a month.
Yeah.
So topic conversation is always like, do you have a boyfriend? Like, how's it going? So she has a boyfriend now, and it's been about a month.
Okay.
And he has a really big family. He has like 8 siblings. So he's going up to SF for Thanksgiving dinner, and their boyfriend-girlfriend, it's confirmed already. But he didn't ask her. And she's like, is that, she's Japanese, he's Puerto Rican. And she's like, is that like a Puerto Rican or American thing to not invite your boyfriend-girlfriend to dinner to meet family?
Yeah.
I know it's only been a month, but I feel like he should ask me, right?
Oh.
But for me, I told her, like, I don't think you should take offense to that. I think that's pretty normal because that's a huge investment to introduce you to a family, like family members, right?
Yeah.
Especially during Thanksgiving, that's way huge.
Yeah, that is a
Right?
big deal.
Yeah.
I think in Puerto Rican, I feel like they're very similar to Asian culture. Like family is a really important thing. And so if you're going to introduce someone to, it's like you're saying you're highly, highly committed.
For me, if I introduce anyone to my family, like the word's gonna spread to everyone that, oh, Mel, she's dating someone who's long term, she could be her husband. I'm like, you're putting pressure on something that I'm not even putting pressure on yet.
So it has to be at a moment then where you feel like this guy could be the one.
Yeah, I think internally. Well, I think with my ex-boyfriend, like we just had a wedding to attend, so it's by chance. Like I just had to introduce him literally a month or two after we were dating. For me, I think it's an internal feeling though. I think with you guys, I actually don't remember introducing my ex-boyfriend to you guys, but I think I was just so excited about him. It's finding the right time to do it, but I wanted you guys to meet him.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I
think,
felt.
yeah, I think actually friends and family are different. I actually would want to introduce someone to my friends early to figure out if there's chemistry there,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get
sure.
engaged from both sides.
Even though it would be like a huge like fanfare event. Like,
Yeah.
boyfriend! Janet's boyfriend!
Wait, how long did you wait, Helen, to introduce?
So it's weird because my family, like my parents are in Boston, so they visited one time, and even though that was still early on in our relationship, like we all had dinner. So it was more like out of the convenience of them being here.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, maybe you should meet them now, even though it's a little too soon, but don't be freaked out.
Yeah.
So that went well, but I probably would have waited a little bit longer.
When did you meet his parents?
That was definitely a little bit later in our relationship, maybe almost a couple of months in. But they were down in LA. They're from the Bay, so they came down to LA for one of their events, and that's where like their movie event, and that's where I met them.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, so another one of our questions that came in: falling for your best guy friends and worrying about ruining the relationship. I feel like that's difficult because here's a guy that you finally find that totally understands you and accepts you for who you are, right? And maybe you're just not that attracted to him. But over time, that attraction can develop if you're like, oh, this guy's a really good guy.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened to you, ladies?
Okay, let's be honest. I think Janet and I both have really close guy friends in our lives that someone has joked about. Because we talked about this.
Yeah.
And then I think as other people, like our friends, like notice a connection with our guy friends.
Right.
And they're like, I don't get, like, you both are single. Like, you guys both get each other so well. Why isn't there anything developing?
Right.
And then me and Janet are like, why isn't anything developing? Like, we talk about this.
Yeah. I think you definitely will think about it. I don't know that I've ever not gone for something because I was worried that it would ruin the friendship.
People might think differently, but personally, it's like going back to the first question, like catching feelings. I think sometimes I look at my really close guy friend, I'm like, you know what? We both really get each other. You get me so well. And like, you might get me more than some partners I'm going to have, like, to be honest, because you know me for so many years, like my ins and outs. I have considered, like, why aren't we dating though? Like, you're not bad looking. I'm okay. Like, But it's just because like I feel like I've been in situations with him where it's like things can turn to that side,
Yeah.
but it just doesn't go there. I think because both of us know like we don't see each other that way at all.
And you guys talk about it openly too, right?
Yeah, me and my close guy friend are really open about this because we're like best friends.
Yeah.
But it just
it's a mutual feeling.
It is.
A lot of people do wonder, like, is it possible for a guy and a girl to be best friends and not
have an
attraction for one another at some point?
Actually, it's funny that now I'm saying it, I'm like, I don't even call him my best friend, but he's just like a really close friend who gets to you. But I do think guys and girls can be close friends. But we did have a conversation once where I was like, you know, I think the fact that we're both single, that we have each other to lean on, to talk to about like everything, we're going to take it for granted once we get partners because that time we have for each other is going to go to someone else. And I do wonder how our relationship is going to affect that relationship.
Or how your relationship might have to change.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was telling him that. He's like, no, I know. I was like, yeah. Because I do think about like, man, it's going to suck if like I meet a guy and like here's a guy trying to learn everything about me and for me to also learn about him. But there's also another person, a male person in my life that actually knows me already.
Right.
And it's just like, I wonder how he would, the new partner would feel.
I mean, when I was in college, I had 2 guy best friends and I had a boyfriend in another college and I would actually be gone like every weekend and it was like a huge dramatic thing where they're like, oh, where are you, Helen? You like left us. You're no longer part of our like tripod. We were called the tripod because we were all so close. And yeah, I mean, I had to invest time in this relationship that I wanted to build. And so I had to be there, right?
Yeah.
And not talking to my close friends about feelings and things that I was going through and all of that. That's actually like a really sensitive topic for me because I saw them recently and we had like a crying sesh. And it was just like, yeah, like, I mean, when you invest time in your relationship, you're gonna invest less time in other relationships, right?
Yeah.
And that's just gonna happen.
For me, I don't foresee it going anything more than what it is. What makes our friendship so special is that we're friends. That's why we're so strong as a relationship. But I think our listener is asking, like, falling for your best guy friend. Like, to be honest, I can't relate to that because I haven't fell for someone yet.
I was going to say, I don't know that I could speak to this personally because I also, like, I have had friends where you would question would it turn into something more, but I haven't felt like I fell for them. And I would say for our listener, maybe this is bad advice to give, but I think that if you have feelings for someone and there's someone you have a very good friendship with, I would say to have that conversation. Maybe that's like I shouldn't like sway one way or the other, but I think just from my personal experience, it's so hard to like come about having strong emotions for someone that if you have that, you might as well try to see if it goes anywhere.
In high school, I had a guy friend who wasn't a best friend, but it was a good friend. And it was like after prom, we all, like a bunch of people stayed up all night and he drove me home and he told me that he liked me and I did not know how to respond to
Oh my God, I have a similar story.
I think I was just like, oh, that's cool. I'm sorry. I don't know if I like you back the same way. And then from that day on, like we stopped being really close friends because it was awkward. So that was like the worst situation that could have happened. But now he's like happily married to someone. So I think it's good that he got that off his chest to understand my feelings. And so that I wasn't also potentially leading him on by being a good friend to him. Right.
Yeah. No, that is I think that's a good point to have. I'm kind of cringing because I had a pretty good friend in high school who actually we met because he dated one of my best friends in junior high. So we had this dynamic or this relationship where I was like very protective of her and I was kind of a bitch to him.
Yeah.
And then we had mutual friends in high school that I heard they were like, you know, he really likes you. And so I went up to him and I just straight out said, hey, I've been hearing people say this is how you're feeling. I don't feel this way back. So I just want to address this and hope we're okay. And I still remember feeling like that was such a bitch move and I made it so horrible. But because of like, he's a really good person and we had more of a humor thing, I think it did affect him negatively for a little bit. But then like we still continued to have a pretty strong friendship. And to this day, he's someone that will still like, we text each other on our birthday and I feel like he's, So it worked out, but despite me making I would not suggest women do that. That's probably why I'm single still. But
you know what I still think about is like, for example, let's say our listener were to tell her best guy friend that she has feelings and let's say things don't go the way she expected. I think in a way it's like maybe that person who's your best friend now is not supposed to be your best friend 5 years later. And like that relation was supposed to fall out anyway for you to find someone even greater in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but or maybe if she were to take the other way of not telling him, maybe this is just a certain part of her life that it'll just pass and when she meets someone else that she's drawn to and she'll still have that friendship. So it's like whatever decision you decide to make, everything's gonna be okay because like your life is gonna plan out in the way that it's supposed to be.
So don't regret. But if you're feeling like you really want to have that conversation and share that, then do it and don't regret what happens. And also if you feel like you really don't want to, don't like dwell on that either.
So the next question here is, I don't know why it's under single and dealing. I think that was a topic.
Or maybe non-married.
Non-married, okay. Are you at the point of time in life where friends are having kids? Do you feel the time crunch?
Ladies, 30 and over ladies, I will direct this to you guys.
I'm feeling it. I am feeling it. And I think it's because I went to a wedding recently and someone there, she's 37 now. Mm-hmm. She has a boyfriend who's a lot younger than her. I think he's in his late 20s. Mm-hmm. But she was telling me how her ovulation cycle is like super short now. I'm not sure how she can actually track that or measure that. I think she was saying that they can only try like once a month. So she's not married, but she's just like, I know my body is getting older and I want to have a baby. So I'd rather try now and have a baby and then get married later. And that actually got me thinking too, because for me, I'm like, okay, I want 2 kids by like 35.
Yeah.
Or 36, right? At the latest probably. Because I think when you hit 36, that's when you're like high risk.
I think 35.
35 is high risk now. So then I'm like, okay, well, let's think backwards. That's like, if I get engaged, that's like a year to plan a marriage. And then marriage, you probably want to have like a year of like marriage life and then have a kid. And that takes another 9 months. So that's like 3 years out from when you get engaged.
Right.
And I'm turning 31 this year. So that'll be 34 if I get engaged like on my birthday. But yeah, that's going to be 3 years out. I'll be 34 to have my first kid. And then I guess, 36. So it's starting to, that time period, thinking ahead is starting to really truncate.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, I'm older, I'm 33, so a lot of my friends, I just went to a baby shower this weekend, and everyone's like married after the first kid, now moving on almost to the second. And for the longest time, I didn't feel personal pressure. I definitely think that being around that reconfirmed for me that that is a future that I want. Mm-hmm. But then I had a moment today when I was like eating lunch, and I realized like I had told myself I would not freak out unless I haven't met someone by like 35. Because I was even working backwards. I'm like, I think having kids in your late 30s, because my mom had, or my sister when she was like 36 or 37. Mm-hmm. I was like, it's fine. It's still medically possible and everything. And genetically for me, if my mom, like there's a higher likelihood that would work for me as well. But then that means that I have to meet someone and marry probably, like I said 35 would be the year that if I haven't met someone, I would kind of maybe freak out. Mm-hmm. And that gives me 2 years. And I know there's like the one perspective where you're like, oh, you don't know, you can meet someone tomorrow. Yeah, I could. But then I could also not, because that's how the last 2 years of my life. So yeah, I don't know. I go back and forth between being like, oh, no, it's fine, I have lots of time, to like, oh my God, time is passing very quickly.
And it's like less about societal pressures on you versus like this is your actual body.
Self-plan and biology too. Right. I do think that,
At what age do you think, because egg freezing is like a really popular thing nowadays, right? Because people are having babies a lot later in life, even though our biological clock hasn't really changed much, I don't think.
Yeah.
So at what point do you think you would start freezing your eggs?
That is, I've actually like never really thought about that. I mean, because it was a popular topic, I didn't think about it personally though. Okay, say if I am 37 and still single, meaning I haven't met someone, then I think I would start considering.
Oof. Real stuff that women have to deal with that men will never understand.
Yep.
Mel? You ready to have babies?
No. That's something I was thinking about. I was talking to my mom on the phone, and I was like, because I fantasize about, you guys know this, I fantasize about my wedding, my babies, and then my mom said to me, she's like, honestly, if you tell me you don't want to have kids, I'm actually okay with that. I was like, what? Oh. Part of me was like, no, you should want me to have kids, because I want to have kids for, like, I want you to be a grandma. Like, I want that for you and also for me. But I think because right now I'm still in my later 20s. Right now I'm seeking as like a serious relationship, and I want like a partnership more than anything. Yeah. Like the idea of a child is like, they're fun, they're adorable, but it's just like the responsibility of it doesn't seem like something I could take on right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm so well aware of that the next thing I could see myself investing in is a relationship. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't feel a lot of pressure yet, but I do feel like I'm at the age now where it's like, all right, I think it's time for me to be in a relationship to experience that. Because it's been...
Do you feel the pressure then of finding a partner?
No.
Yes, you do. I mean, on Friday, because I said there's going to be guys
She's husband hunting.
It's more like just for myself personally. I just want to, like, I would like to be in a relationship. It'd be nice, but you
don't feel societal pressure. No. And also for you personally, you're kind of, you want it now, but you don't feel like scared if you're not having a partner.
Because to be honest, like, I'm the youngest out of you two.
That's true, because you hang out with a lot of older people.
I hang out with you guys, and a lot of my friends are in their 30s, and I feel like, oh, they're so single. I could be too.
I was thinking that too.
Use me as an example.
Yeah, using you as an example. It's like, oh, Janet's single. I can be single right now.
Good, you know.
Oh no.
But I think I would feel it. I would feel more pressure if I hit 29.
Yeah.
Because I do want to get married when I'm 33 or 31. So just like, for me, what I count back is like, okay, I would ideally want to be with my boyfriend for like a year and then live with him for a year and then get engaged. That's like already 3 years.
Yeah.
I've already moved past that. I was like, if I meet someone at the right time, I could see an engagement in like 6 months to a year.
Damn.
Yeah.
I actually could see that for you too.
Because I think as you get older, like parts of your life solidify. So there's less to kind of like figure out if you're compatible, I guess.
That's
I don't know.
true. Because I think one thing you realize as you get older is like when everything else in your life seems kind of consistent and solid, you look towards the other thing. Like for me, it's like I think I'm still trying to like get a hold of my new position down, and I feel like I'm getting there. Once that's down, I'm like, all right, what's the next thing for me? It's a relationship.
I think that's exactly where I am right now, because with work, I feel like that's been super stable. With like relationship, it's super stable, and I'm kind of just like, everyone else around me is getting married, having kids. Actually, before this year, I was not even thinking about kids. I was just like, all right, cool. Yeah, we're just like going along with our day and like, you know, having a good relationship on all of that. And now I think having that conversation with that one woman who's 37 and thinking about having kids, I'm like, I actually really respect that. You can have a kid first before getting married. I know society is like, oh, you shouldn't do that. You should get married first. And I think it's also a religious thing, right?
Right.
Where you should be married before having kids. But a part of me is like, I'd rather eat chips and stuff my face with ice cream and have a baby rather than like trying to get all fit and you know, plan for a wedding.
I'd rather be pregnant than bridezilla.
Actually, part of me is like, I'd rather be pregnant than plan for a wedding. That seems too stressful.
Shit, I'm like, wedding number one.
I know.
I'm like, no.
I never thought that I would be this way, but I'm actually feeling that way right now.
And that wraps our episode today on modern day dating. Thank you so much to everyone who wrote in with questions and subtopics. And if there are any other questions that you guys have, you can always reach out. I'm sure we'll, cover more of this topic in later episodes as well.
Also, we have talked about sex and dating in the past. So we have 2 episodes that you can refer back to. Episode 5, 20-something girls versus 30-something women. Part 2, sex and dating, in parentheses. And then we had episode 19, Does Your Personality Fit My Vagina? Which is about first dates and what you like or don't like for a guy to do on the first date.
And we're also active on social media, so you can catch us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Asian Boss Girl. If you like today's episode, leave a heart emoji on our most recent Instagram post.
And make sure to hit that subscribe button. We are on iTunes, freshly on Spotify now, Google Play, Overcast, and all other podcasting platforms. So we'll catch you guys again next week.
Bye.